Welcome back to the channel, my friends. Warhammer Man Studios. I'm Warhammer Man, and today I want to talk about if this time is different. This video is sponsored by CMO Games. More on that later. Alright, so we got some big changes coming up, a bunch of new releases, and of course some announcements coming up at Adepticon as well. And as always, not only do I like to bring you guys the news, but I like to provide some value as well. So we know that likely we're going to get a Chaos Space Marine announcement coming up. We just got a recent announcement about the Adeptus Custodes and Orcs. And then we also have the Tau box launching very soon also. So that essentially means we're going to have like 3 new combat patrols in the very near future, and then potentially a 4th with the Chaos Space Marines also. So I wanted to go through and take a look at all of the combat patrols that have already been replaced, and then check out the value on those, and then compare them to the ones that are coming up. So we can see obviously that Games Workshop is decreasing the value in a lot of these boxes. So if you are after any of the existing combat patrols, in particular, like the 4 that are getting ready to be replaced, like in the most near future, you have an opportunity to grab those up before they're gone forever, because realistically, some of them are still an amazing value. And we know based on what we've seen so far, and we'll see throughout the video, that the value inside the combat patrol boxes is definitely going down. So there's 2 ways Games Workshop can basically raise the price. One, they can just straight up increase the price of the combat patrol, which they have been doing. So now they're up to $160 USD, but also they can just replace the old combat patrol with a new box that has less value in it. And now just a couple of like caveats. When I'm determining value, I'm not going off like how much you can 3D print models for or what plastic army men cost at the dollar store. I'm talking about MSRP of Games Workshop kits. And it's presumed that if you can get your actual individual kits at a discount, you can also get the combat patrols at a discount. So there's no need to talk about whether you can get like a 15 or 20% discount, etc. Because presumably you can get that on the combat patrol and then also the regular models inside as well. So the big numbers in blue that I have are the price of MSRP models inside the kit. There's also a couple of kits that don't have the exact models available for sale because they're easy to build and they're from like a starter set or something like that. Like for instance, the Tyranids. So they're not going to be exact one-for-one comparisons. There's also ones like the Space Marine or Tyranid Combat Patrol where you can get them inside of a starter set or Leviathan set that are a substantially better deal, and you should always do that. So that being said, let's take a look at what's been replaced already, and then the value inside of those, and then also the value inside of the boxes that are getting ready to be replaced. So you can make sure that if you're after any of those, you can grab them up in a hurry. And now, is it possible that the new boxes are going to come out and have like really good deals inside of them and they're not going to follow the trend? Is it possible this time it's going to be different? I suppose so, but more likely than not, and you guys will see this throughout the video, Games Workshop is definitely decreasing the value inside of the combat patrols. So it's presumable that the contents will be different in the new combat patrols, but the value will be less. All right, so first we have the Adeptus Mechanicus. So they recently replaced out the Adeptus Mechanicus. That was one of the first codexes in this edition, and now it has $215 in MSRP. At a $160 price tag, you're basically saving $55, which is around a 25% discount. We also have the brand new Dark Angels Combat Patrol that just came out. People are really upset about this one, specifically because there's no Dark Angel specific units, which we haven't really seen in most of the Space Marine Combat Patrols, so I think people are just complaining to complain. But more importantly, it has 10 intercessors inside the box, and intercessors are very, very common. So the idea that this has 2 upgrade sprues and 10 intercessors, and it's $220 in value, also just not a great box savings wise. So $220 in that one, you're saving a little over 25%. So then scrolling down here, we keep going. The Chaos box is likely to be replaced last of the ones we're about to look at. So I'm expecting Games Workshop to reveal some new Chaos stuff at Adepticon. We know that that's the last of the codexes in like this next little cluster of ones to be replaced. So they've already specifically said Orcs and Custodes are getting their codexes soon. And then right after that is Chaos. So the Chaos box currently $225. It's already not a great deal. So it's probably not going to get that much worse. I mean, realistically, the other boxes we already looked at are right around the same value. So likely it's going to get some different models in it, but probably not going to be like any worse or better of a value. Next, scrolling down here, we have the Adeptus Custodes. So Custodes, basically the same type of situation. There's technically $240 in value inside this box. But honestly, even if they change it up and it's a little less in MSRP, it's probably going to be a better box. Because the truth is, the Sisters of Silence kits, there's 2 of those inside the box, and they're $60 for 5 models. And that's completely overpriced to me, even relative to like all Games Workshop models, it's overpriced. So half the box is Sisters of Silence. So in my opinion, even if this one drops down to closer to like the 220 or 225 mark, if there's only one squad of Sisters of Silence and then literally just anything else, I think this box gets better. And if there's no Sisters of Silence at all, it's like way better. So the truth is, I think this box, whatever it gets replaced with, probably going to be better, even if it's a slightly worse value. All right, and then next we're getting into the most important two that are coming up. All right, so we know that these two are getting ready to be replaced. Obviously, we see the new Tau Codex coming out, so we're going to know what's in the Combat Patrol box very, very soon. This box has $254 worth of value in it, so it's definitely on the higher side relative to the new stuff. So it does likely have less value in the new Combat Patrol. We have the new Krut box getting launched, and the actual Codex is going to be out soon, so we're going to start seeing reviews on it and all the contents. And inside that book, we're going to see what's in the new Combat Patrol. So there's going to be like a really short period from when we get to see what's inside to when you're still able to pick this up. So you can make a slightly more informed decision. But just a heads up, this one is a nice value at $254. But that being said, it has two like $35 characters in it. So it has an Ethereal and then also the Firesight Marksman, which in my opinion kind of like inflates the value of the box a bit. So while this one is a good deal and MSRP value, it's like better off. Who knows what's going to be in the new box, and probably it's going to be better than this, again, even if it loses a little bit of the MSRP value. So next is the Orks. The Orks is one of the best combat patrols currently available or still available. Now, of course, there are some complaints to be made about this box. It does come with the new sculpt of boyz, but they're easy to build boyz, and they're priced at $55 for 10. So that's a lot of the value inside the box. And a lot of Ork players don't like that because one, they're easy to build, and two, you don't get to pick what kind of arms you put on them, which I totally get. But the fact of the matter is, it's a really nice box. It's $275 in MSRP value. And we know that this one and the custodes box are probably going to get replaced around the same time because we already saw that they're going to have that new character and the new launch box that comes alongside the release of the codex. So when those codexes come out or when we get to see them, we'll see what's in the new Combat Patrol boxes. And likely the Ork box is going to lose about $50. Most of the new boxes are around like $215 to $225 in MSRP. This one's at $275. So maybe the composition is a little bit better. Maybe there's something new or different in it. But the fact of the matter is, this box is a really nice value. All the models inside this are awesome models. Some of them are brand new. The Death Dread is like a little bit older, but still a really cool model. $275 for this box in MSRP. I think this is one of the best combat patrols. And I think probably if you're after orcs or you're thinking about getting this combat patrol, this is the best one and likely to be the one that loses the most when it is replaced. So that being said, I think the Ork one is by far the #1 priority to pick up if you're after it, if you haven't picked it up yet or you're thinking about getting it. But we do still have a little bit of time because they've only just shown off like the new box coming up. We don't even have the codex yet or anything like that. But I think it's worth putting on that list of things to buy. And then just scrolling down here, take a look at the last few, some of the early releases combat patrols and including the worst value of all of them. And then also technically the best value of all of them with like a little star. So we had the Combat Patrol Necrons, $198 in this box set. Not only is it $198 and one of the lower value boxes, while they are really cool models, the Destroyers were in like the Indominus box before them, so you can still pick them up at like $30. So the fact that this is only $198 in MSRP value, one of the lower end boxes, and it's basically like less than 20% discount, makes this like arguably one of the worst Combat Patrol boxes. All right, and then we have like the two like ultimate star boxes right here because there's a couple reasons that these are super weird. One, we'll jump over past the Tyranids for a second and look at the Space Marines. So first off, the Space Marine box is $175, and that's $175 in like full kits because you can basically pick up like the non-easy to build Terminators, which has a bunch of extra options at $65. You can also pick up the new Captain model, which has a bunch of extra options at, I think it's $42, and that goes into this $175 right here. So realistically, this box is actually a lot worse than $175 because those kits are easy to build. On top of that, you can pick up these inside of like the starter box or inside the Leviathan box substantially cheaper than this. The one starter box has both of the Tyranids and Space Marine Combat Patrol box in it, and it's a way better deal than buying these Combat Patrols on their own. And then also the Leviathan box has both of these full combat patrols inside of it and a ton of extra models and the rulebook as well. And you can still pick those up. So I would 100% go for one of those other two options. But that being said, the Space Marine Combat Patrol box is the absolute worst of all the combat patrols. Matter of fact, it's straight up criminal that Games Workshop even sells this for $160. I get that they want a $160 price point on all these boxes, but they should have just put in extra models that you don't get to use or done something different so that this was an actual deal, because this is like the #1 army for Warhammer 40,000. The most likely box for people to pick up is probably like starting army Space Marines, and it's the absolute worst deal. If you own a shop If you own a shop, you should be warning people never to buy this box. 175 bucks, you basically save nothing. It's less than a 10% discount in this box set. Absolutely terrible. Not to mention all of the other ways you can get these models substantially cheaper. And then we have the Combat Patrol Tyranids. So the Tyranid one is interesting because, again, all the stuff I said about the Space Marine box being able to pick up these models substantially cheaper than the actual Combat Patrol is true for this box, but it is actually a really good deal. It's just that you can get an even better deal in some of the other boxes. Like Leviathan is the best deal ever made by Games Workshop on any box. So I always would tell people to pick up Leviathan. But of all the Combat Patrols, this is by far the best one based on MSRP. Now, again, there's a slight caveat on that one because like the Termagants that come in this set are the easy to build Termagants. So they're missing like a couple of like weapon options. All of the other models in this box set are also easy to build. But that being said, if you total up all of the kits in this set, it's $285 and they're selling it for $160. So this one is by far the biggest savings. And the only thing that shadows over that is the fact that you can actually get even better deals in other places. Now a quick message from today's sponsor. CMO Games has been selling Games Workshop products online for over 20 years. They carry the full line of Games Workshop products, including Warhammer 40,000, Age of Sigmar, Necromunda, Blood Bowl, paint tools, and more. Almost all Games Workshop products are priced at 15% off MSRP. CMO Games takes pre-orders for most Games Workshop products released at their earliest date possible. 12:01 a.m. on Saturday, they go live. Most of these pre-order products are also priced at 15% off MSRP. CMO Games offer free shipping in the US 48 with an order of $50 or more. Their customer service is top-notch and they ship most orders within 24 hours. Visit CMOGames.com using the affiliate link in the description and let them know that you heard about CMO Games from Warhammer Man. Now back to the video. So now that we went through the actual combat patrols and we have actually been talking about like the Space Marines and Tyranids ones, again, I would always recommend you pick up Leviathan because you can still pick that up at MSRP a lot of places for $250. And it's all the models inside this box set. You don't get the terrain, but you get the rulebook and a ton of other stuff as well. But alternatively, this is actually a really nice box. The Space Marine Combat Patrol is $160 and so is the Tyranid one. So if you're going to pick both those up, it would be $320. This comes with both those full combat patrols. It comes with all of the terrain from the set and then also comes with the core rules. So you're saving like $110 over buying both those combat patrols. You're getting all this terrain and then the rules as well. This is a really nice setup. So again, if you're thinking about picking up either one, the Tyranids or hopefully not the Space Marine Combat Patrol, this is definitely the way to go 100% of the time. So I just wanted to specifically take a look at that. So now that we've looked through all of like the combat patrols that have already been replaced and then the ones that are upcoming to be replaced, I think it's pretty obvious that Games Workshop is decreasing the value inside of these box sets to right around like 25% savings. So that being said, if you are after any of the combat patrols, obviously the contents are going to change on them, but just like based on the value alone, I think the most important one to focus on is probably the orcs, potentially the Tau or the custodes as well. Now, that being said, we talked about the custodes and how the Sisters of Silence kind of make this have a falsely inflated price tag. Same with this one right here, $254, but you get 2 characters in it that honestly are like, okay. But I think the orc box is the real one that you got to be focused on. So anyway, just wanted to go through and take a look at these combat patrols, talk a little bit about the trend that we've been seeing. And essentially, it's very clear that Games Workshop is trending these down closer to like the $200 price point, away from like the higher $275 and up price point. Now, some of these boxes weren't particularly great already, like the Chaos Space Marine box. So realistically, it's probably not going to get much worse. It may just be different contents inside. But a lot of people were really upset about like the Dark Angels box and of course like the Adeptus Mechanicus box. I think it's also very clear that Games Workshop does not want to put nearly as many vehicles in these box sets. They've been removing them from almost all of them with the exception of Necrons. And then also it's very clear if we look at the Space Marine boxes, that Games Workshop tried to put in chapter specific units with the Black Templar box set and it just absolutely failed. So one of the main things that people were complaining about with the Dark Angels box is there's none of the Dark Angel specific units in it. But actually, if we take a look at the other Space Marine box sets, we'll see that the only one they actually put in specific units in was Black Templars. And this was the worst selling of all the Space Marine box sets because you're limiting who could potentially purchase it. So this one, 11 of the models inside are Black Templar specific models, and it's been absolutely atrocious on sales. And then if we look at the other box sets for Space Marines, we see this one for Blood Angels only has upgrade sprues. For Death Watch only has upgrade sprues. For Space Wolves only has upgrade sprues. And then of course the generic Space Marine one. So all the people that were out here complaining about how the Dark Angels box doesn't have any of the new Dark Angel specific models, of course it doesn't. Games Workshop tried that with Black Templars and it sold absolutely horrendously. So they're not going to do that anymore. Fully expect Games Workshop when they try something out, if it doesn't work, them to just never do that again. So going forward, as any of the Space Marine boxes are replaced, I 100% expect them to just be generic Space Marines with no chapter specific units and then upgrade sprues. But I mean, it's the internet, so I expect people to just complain about stuff without actually doing any research and just repeating what someone else said. So that being said, very clear, the Games Workshop is trending towards lower value in the combat patrol boxes. So if you are after any of the specific ones because you like the contents or you like the value or savings inside of them, you've been warned as to what's going to be replaced going forward, at least in the near future. And as we get closer to like some of the future releases, I'll go through and we'll update this list as well. Special thanks to CMO Games for sponsoring the video. Check out the link in the description to save 15% on Games Workshop products. Make sure to tell them that Warhammer Man sent you. That's it for today. Warhammer Man Studios, I'm Warhammer Man. And I guess this time could be different, but I doubt it. And I'm out of here.